If you want to incorporate slow stitched words or text or numbers onto your slow stitching pieces, and you don't really like your handwriting or you're not really sure where to start, just grab a stamp, an old rubber stamp that you might have that you like the text or the font on. And then you can stamp your words onto your fabric and get a really interesting, unique, and very professional looking result. You make your own template to stitch your words. Now here's how I do it. So I start by layering my fabric on top of a magazine. Then I take my ink pad, and I'm using some dye ink here, stamp my stamp into the ink pad, and then stamp it onto my fabric, trying to get a very good impression. The magazine helps with that. Then I just take an iron and I iron onto my fabric, mainly to dry it. I'm not trying to heat set it, and I'm not concerned about heat setting because I'm going to cover everything with stitches. So now to start stitching, I come up with my needle and thread, and I just start at the first letter. It just takes me a while to get the exact spot. And I can just pull up my thread and determine what stitch I want to do. And I'm just going to do a stem stitch. So I'll create a stitch, pull it down until snug, and then I want to come up by making just a little loop here. Then I want to come up in that loop on that line that we stamped out. So now I have my template. Just want to make sure my stitch, my needle is in the right spot, and I can just continue filling in that letter. I'll go down, making another stitch length, leaving a loop at the end when I pull it snug, but not too taut, holding the loop the same direction each time, in this case above my letter, and then I'll continue stitching my word. Because I use the stamp, I get a nice image. When I'm going around curves, I'll make smaller stitches just because it makes a nicer result. So there we have the completed stitched wording, and it looks really interesting and pretty, and I don't think I would have accomplished that without some type of sketch. And using the stamp was just an easy way to get that sketch down onto the fabric. So now I can incorporate this into any project that I have, and sometimes I can just stitch a whole bunch of words just when I have time. So I showed you how I stamped onto my fabric and then stitched it using my Holly Jolly Christmas stamp, but you can use any stamp, any words for any season. I just thought this was a really quick tip that was a fun way to incorporate stitching text onto your fabric.